damn it, short of cash again. If only there was a way to create money out of thin air. Yo Jay, can you do the thing with the printer? Yeah, just send it this way. Thanks, dude. Hey guys, so my name is Tim and I'm the guy who created the Moneyprinter Goes BRRR meme with Jerome Powell, well, cranking the money printer and printing out tons of cash. So that thing went completely viral, like way beyond any of my expectations. So I guess I can check the make viral meme for my bucket list. So it was super cool to make something, to make a viral meme. So yeah, and this was a good way to sort of combine my love of visual effects, which is my work, with my love of memes, which I find absolutely hilarious, like a lot of people know, and and my interest in economics, trading, and finance, which is an interest of mine, and I read and watch a lot about that because I just find it interesting. So it was just a cool way to sort of combine all of those things into one thing. And it was kind of cool because, I mean, this thing was something that went viral outside of the communities that I usually post in. And there's a very big chance that if you're watching this, you're not a 3D animator. You might watch this because you like the meme and you wonder how it was made. So yeah, because when I posted this thing, I got a lot of questions of people like asking me like, how did you make this? So yeah, I wrote out some comments on people like just explaining how it was done. But people seemed interested in me doing a video about it, and well, that's the content that I usually do. I mean, I make tutorials and videos about how stuff is done in visual effects, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to also maybe do one about this meme for a more general audience. So even if you're not a 3D or visual effects artist, then maybe this is going to be interesting for you to see how this was made, and who knows, maybe it sparks an interest in you and like maybe trying some 3D for yourself. I mean, who knows? So I am also putting all the source files to the meme on my website. You can get them for Patreon supporters or on Gumroad. So link is in the description for that. Also want to point out that there's now a 10-hour version of the Moneyprinter Go BRRR, because a lot of people were asking like, oh, we need a 10-hour version of this, guys. I mean, 2 minutes is not enough of watching Jerome Powell go like cranking that money printer. We need to watch him for 10 hours straight, because that's what you do. And if 10 hours is not enough, I also launched a website called usdebtgobrrr.com, where you can watch Jerome Powell print money into infinity, and underneath it there's a US debt clock going up and up and up and up. So yeah, without further ado, I guess let's maybe try to explain how this whole thing was made. So I used a couple of programs for this, mainly Adobe Photoshop, Maxon Cinema 4D, and side effects Houdini. So you're probably familiar with Photoshop, or at least you heard of it. So Photoshop is an image manipulation tool, which allows you to like take photos and manipulate them. So that's what I did to sort of create the basic image of Jerome Powell. Then I also used Cinema 4D and I used Houdini. So those are 3D programs. So in the video I'm gonna of course show that, but I made some 3D models and then I projected the image that I made in Photoshop onto those 3D models, and then I make it animate, well, like he's actually printing. And then I did simulations for the money inside of Houdini. So we're gonna get into all of how all of that was done. So I guess now is a good time to jump to a screen recording, and I'm going to show you first how the Photoshop stuff is put together. Alright, so we're here inside of Photoshop. A lot of you are probably familiar with Photoshop, but anyway, so this is where I did created the base image. So yeah, this is the base image, and it's actually composed of a whole bunch of different images, because of course there's no actual picture of Jerome Powell looking like this. So the base image that I used was this one, because I kind of like the way he was just standing here with his hand, like with his arm like this, because this was it was a good position to have him eventually just have his, have him hold like a money press. So that was a good base image. But of course, I mean, there's a whole lot missing. Like this platform should be bigger. It should be extended downwards. I mean, I need I need a background, so I needed to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, I was just looking for a whole bunch of images. So yeah, I took an image of my own hand. So it's this one. Let's open it like this, because also it's gonna open it in another program. Yeah, so this is the hand. So this is me holding. So this is a thing from my foam roller. So it's just a very small foam roller thing. It's not some weird dildo-like thing, if that's what you were thinking. Anyway, so that's the hand here. So that's actually my hand. So you can see I've photoshopped it on there. So his head is actually from another picture that I found, and it was just because I initially wanted to just do this one. This was one of the first versions that I had, but I kind of I came across this image, and it was just too good to not use. It's just too funny. So I was like, okay, I'll just put it on there. So that's what I did. So that's his replaced head. You can see the other one still underneath there. So I extended all of that stuff out here. So yeah, you can see this is just extended out. So I did some extra painting as well, just with the clone stamp. So with clone stamp, you can, if you use that, you can sort of pick a part in an image and then sort of paint it somewhere else. So I just did that to sort of extend it, and I took different parts from different images as well. So like I use this part here to extend him over there. Yeah, and just a whole bunch of images to just so yeah, I think I used this one for the front thing. Could be another one. I think it might be this one. So yeah, a whole bunch of images here. Oh yeah, toilet paper. I'm gonna get to that later. Because the inflation text is actually printed on toilet paper. So yeah, a whole bunch of layers here. Again, you can download the file and you can look through this if you want. It's a little bit messy, but so yeah. So separate hand thing and whatever. So yeah, that's the Photoshop part. So I also animated his face a little bit, and I did that inside of After Effects. So I guess let's dive into After Effects for a little bit and see how that was done. Alright, so we're here inside of After Effects. And it's actually not that noticeable in the final video, but actually, wait, let me turn up the quality a little bit. But his face is actually making weird expressions. So I just imported the image that I made inside of Photoshop, I made in Photoshop, imported into After Effects, and I created a whole bunch of pins with the puppet tool. So you can just basically just put pins in something, and you can sort of distort it. So I just pinned everything like that, and I just set some keyframes to sort of animate it. And then I had a couple of things loop. So if you hold Alt, you press one of these, you can go to here to property, and you can go loop out, and then that will make it loop. I just have it loop. And then I rendered this out as an image sequence with alpha, so with transparency in it. So alpha is transparency of an image. So yeah, it's like this. And that was later used as a sort of texture. So pretty basic, but yeah, that's the only After Effects part that I had to do. So now I had to sort of create a 3D object to sort of match this thing, because eventually the actual animation was done in 3D. So let's do the first mock-up that I did inside of Cinema 4D. So let's go into Cinema 4D and see how that works. All right, so we're here inside of Cinema 4D, and you can see something here that looks nothing like Jerome Powell. So this is a stock model that comes with Cinema 4D, and I just use it to sort of mock stuff up because it just has an okay rig. So I've used this model quite a lot before. Also in my if you don't know this one, so this is a shot that I made so it's a full 3D shot of a Jeep driving through mud, so everything is 3D, but you can see the model in there is the same model that I used to mock up like drone pile. So anyway, if you want to watch that, it's also on my channel. So you can see same model. Anyway, so I just use that to sort of do a rough pose. And it's actually like, I mean, it looks okay from this angle, but he's actually very weird positioned. Because you can get away with quite a lot. You can see I made sort of a placeholder model here as well. That's going through the arm. I just fix that later once we go inside of Houdini. But yeah, basically what I just did is I posed him. So yeah, you have stuff for the rig. You can just move him. So I made this thing. I posted so it would roughly be in the same location as the background image. Then I rotated this thing here. So I made that, and you can see that's linked up to his hand. So I pinned that. So that just rotates, and then I loop it afterwards inside of Houdini when we're gonna do the work afterwards. So yeah, let's go to the camera again. So yeah, you basically have yeah. So it's roughly in the right position, and we're gonna make it completely sort of fit inside of Houdini. And again, if you're doing this for actual VFX production, you're gonna work a lot cleaner. You're gonna actually properly match it. But for this thing, it was completely fine to have it sort of match. As long as it looked good from this angle, I mean, it was gonna be perfectly fine. So anyway, so what I did is I exported this whole thing as an alembic. So you can go to File, Export alembic. You can say a location for something. I could say whatever. You can say selection only, and you can just export it. So I only exported the region, and I took it into Houdini. So that's everything that I did inside of Cinema 4D. So now let's go into Houdini and do the actual fun stuff. All right, so we're inside of Houdini. So that's where the actual fun stuff happens. So you can see this already looks a lot more like the thing. So this is the actual thing. You can see here's JPal printing the money. So you can see there's the money coming out, and you might notice there's currently no texture on this, but that happens when you render this. So rendering is what that is taking a 3D scene and sort of generating it into a 2D image. So let me open up my render view and press render. And you can kind of see what happens. Let me put these two. So you can see, so the textures and stuff that happens during render time. So you can see if I go through it, that's the thing. All right, so let's discuss a little bit about how this works, what I did. Right, so I'm not gonna go do a complete build from scratch. I'm just gonna go through it, how it works. Because I mean, full tutorial would not really make a lot of sense. Also, maybe for the people watching this. Anyway, so if you move to the side, you can see it actually looks very weird. So what I'm actually doing is I'm projecting from a camera. So I have a projection cam. I think this is the one. So this camera sort of matches the perspective inside of Cinema 4D here. So that's the Cinema 4D camera. Let's go back in here. So from there, what I'm doing, let's see where I'm doing that again. So I think it's in here. Right, so you can see here's the model. So I'm scaling it down a little bit because the Houdini scene scale is different. So you kind of scale it down. So you can see this is the model that we made, right? This is the guy. And you can see him doing this. And then I made it loop. So I'm just saying $FF, that means dollar floating frame. So just the frame number, and the video is 30 frames per second, and modulo 30 means it will repeat it after 30 frames. So then you get this just looping. All right, so then what I'm doing is I'm time shifting it. So this is just not moving at all. It's just a static frame. Then I'm doing a VDB from Polygons. Essentially VDB creates a volumetric representation of this thing. So think of a cloud. The cloud is a volume. So I could also, for example, if I were to put this to fog, you can see now I get a sort of a foggy version of it. But this is also sort of a volumetric representation. I'm just doing this to give it more detail. Because if I now, what I can do now is reshape. I can sort of say extend this thing out. So I can sort of say, make him very thick. A thick J-Pal. Such a thick man. Anyway, so I'm converting it to polygons. So now I have more stuff that I can sort of sculpt on. Because you can see, here are points. So these are points. And if I go over here, you can see there's only a couple of points. And after I did this, there's a whole bunch of points. And then I have more stuff to sort of push him in position. Because I want to push it into position to the actual thing. So what I can do, I think I used that over here. So I'm just creating a node that sort of does a preview of the image on it. So what I'm doing here is I'm editing stuff here. So I'm sort of editing, and you can see I'm making a deformed mesh. But it's just to push it in position. Now what I'm doing here, UV texture. A UV is basically a 2D representation of a 3D image. And what I'm just doing is I'm just creating a UV from the camera. And a UV is used also to sort of to project textures on it. And if I do it from the camera, I can project a texture from the camera. So if I do quick shade, you can see if I just do an image, you can see it's just a flat image from the front. But that means that I can also, and I transformed it down a little bit here to sort of make it fit because it didn't fit perfectly, to sort of put an image on it. And you can see it doesn't completely fit. And again, this is just because it was just a quick fun project. Of course, if you're doing this in production, you would do it a lot better. I just didn't want to spend a lot of time. It just needed to look good for the thing. Anyway, so what I'm just doing is I'm in here. I'm just going to go through it, take points, and then sort of make sure that it encapsulates its entire thing. But this thing is still not moving, right? It's a static thing because we're doing this on a static thing. Well, that's where this thing comes in. So we're going to go into the deform tab. Right, so what I'm doing here is I'm loading this thing that we had. Right now he doesn't have the texture applied. Then I'm loading this animated version here. So that's the one that's doing this. And again, I'm freezing that over here. I'm freezing it. And then with point deform, I can tell it to, okay, let's plug in our new mesh. Then which is the reference position that you should use, and then deform it by the animated position. So then you get this. Right, so still, let's see what I'm doing here. Oh, yeah. What I'm doing here is I have a bend here. So with a bend, I can have something, well, bent. Basically, as you can see, I'm going to sort of bend it. So that sort of makes him bend a little bit back and forth. I now notice that I didn't really do it in the correct position. I think I didn't properly capture it. Okay, I probably should have. Anyway, so that's bending it, but I didn't want his hands to bend, so I only wanted to do it based on like only this part. So I'm essentially transferring an attribute which I create. So an attribute is just data. So I'm saying blend is 0, and I'm transferring that, so I can visualize that if I want. Go in here. So blend. You can see it's black where its hands are. And that's not gonna So let's use blend. So it's not going to influence him, the bend, wherever this attribute is. And again, I'm just doing a placeholder sort of material. So now you can see. So the shading looks a little bit weird here, but well, anyway. Just placeholder shading. I mean, in the render it looks fine. Oh yeah, the background thing is just because that's the HDRI. So again, this is that's the thing. I mean, I realize it looks a little bit bad, but oh yeah, and why it's orange here? It's because I didn't manually sort of did it like this. I did motion effects, so that uses chops. I did motion effect, and you can put a noise in there. And you can get sort of a channel like this, and then that will sort of randomly do it. And you have controls over how fast it's gonna do that. All right, so that's the first part of just JPEG printing. So that's this thing. The other part is just taking this box that I have and doing the same thing, just projecting the UV. So yeah, now we need to do the money printer and the money. So yeah. All right, so that's of course the more interesting part. So let's check the money. The money. Let's get the money. All right. So we have money here, and I just put on a just a texture of money. Which it's a Wikipedia thing. So anyway, so I use that one. So you can just get it on. Well, yeah, it's gonna be in the thing as well. So just a texture thing. Oh, what I also noticed is so this is the placeholder texture. I ended up color correcting a version as well. So that's this one. So that's the one I'm actually using. And actually, you cannot open actual dollar bill inside of Photoshop. That's what I noticed. Currently there's a protection for that, but you can open it in After Effects. So I color corrected it inside of other After Effects. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, just to demonstrate that, like if I have if I try to load in this banknote, you can see application does not support editing of banknotes. So it kind of makes sense, but it's kind of weird then that if I go into After Effects and I import it in here, it's usually a little bit slower, so we need to wait a little bit. So I mean, it does work in here. So anyway, so if you ever need to edit banknotes, you can do it in After Effects. Anyway, yeah, so I am done. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm creating a vellum cloth format. So vellum is a solver inside of Houdini. Solver is essentially just it's a tool to be able to do specific type of effects, and vellum allows you to solve cloth basically. So create a cloth type of effect. So this is the thing, and then I am just giving it parameters here, like what should you be able to do, like how bendy should you be and stuff like that. And I'm setting a velocity here, so this initial velocity inside of it into a direction. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just creating some points, a couple of points, 3 points, something interesting with some p-scale. These are the points that I'm going to instance my bills on. So then let's go into the top network. That's where the simulation happens. Let's go there. All right, so probably need to discuss the money printer and the other thing as well. I'll do that later. Wait, maybe I'll do that first and then we'll dive back into the simulation. That's probably a better idea. All right, so let's go into the, where is the printer? Let's see where I'm getting it from. All right, so I have the printer here. All right, so I have the printer. this thing, and it was too long, obviously. And these things weren't located properly. So what I just did is I put some transforms in here to sort of rotate them. So I blasted them out. Then I'm just rotating them because then I can use them inside of the simulation, and then they'll also rotate in there. And the other one, I'm just taking the same one, moving it down, and also rotating it, but in a different direction, because else we're not going to get proper movement, right? So yeah, then we get that thing. I'm sort of scaling it down and repositioning it so it sort of fits the thing better. So yeah, then we have that. Adding a rest attribute. That's for rendering later. Just don't have to worry about that for now. Right, let's go to money. Right, let's go there. Yeah. So let's go over here. All right, so money. So this is the vellum solver. So this is what solves the money being generated. You have the object. This is what's going to contain the object. And then I have the source. And in the source, I'm going to say the path to the money. So that's going to be this one. And this one maybe I should give it a better name. Anyway, so that's going to be the constraint. So the constraints are going to hold the parameters on how am I going to move this money around? How stiff is it going to be? That's being contained over there. So I'm putting that in here. And then instance points are those. So that's the points that it's going to be instanced on. So it's just going to instance money onto the thing. So it's doing 3 every frame. So not quite as fast as JPow does it in real life, but I mean, fast enough. So then it's going to generate those. And if I turn off these forces here, you see it just does this. They do get shot sort of in the left direction. It's because we gave this initial velocity, right? And it's just doing that every frame. Then I have pop forces here, so these add some noise to the whole thing. So these basically add some, they will blow sort of the stuff around, so it's not as uniform. So this one blows them downwards and also forwards a little bit, and it has a little bit of noise, not that much. And then this one, what I'm basically doing is saying that I'm generating a random value for every piece of money, and then if the value is, so that's going to be between 0 and 1, and if the value is above 0.9, then I'm going to add force in the up position. So then it's going to sort of blow random pieces, 10% of the pieces are going to be blown upwards. And then again, I have some noise there, so some noise. So then you have some pieces you see being blown upwards, because else it just didn't look as cool. And then these objects are just the collision objects. So those ones. So yeah, that's the money being emitted, and I'm caching it to disk here. And we have some money. We have the money. Yeah, that's the money. I might not delete those, I guess. Right, so that's the money. So now let's talk about the inflation paper. All right, so a lot of you already noticed it, but the paper actually says inflation. So let's go into one of those. So it's actually the texture is it's actually a piece of toilet. You don't see it that well, but it's actually toilet paper. Let me put it like that. You don't see it. You can see, yeah, you can see it. So like that. So it's actually toilet paper that says inflation. I just thought it would be a funny thing to add. Yeah, the actual text is red, so I changed that. So the preview thing here is not. I think I changed it here later. Yeah, so this is the actual one that I used for rendering. So yeah, I'm just copying it a whole bunch of times, so you can see we have a whole a long strip. So I am sort of bending it in a certain direction. Let's see what I'm doing here. Yeah, so I'm merging some stuff in here for collisions. So moving this up, so this is the thing, and then again I'm creating these constraints that I did before. I am pulling the front part like that way. So it's going to be only the front part, but again, this is going to be simulated later. So instead of stretching it out, the stuff is going to follow. And then I'm moving the whole rest of the part down. And then I'm using vellum again, but this time in stop solver. So that's just a different way of using it. So let's go in there. So these things there are sort of rotating, and you can see I'm putting these things as a collision object. So, and now the whole thing just gets pulled in. So if you just play, I'm just going to load it from this because it's going to be faster. So you can see it's being pulled like that. And then I am deleting some of the parts because we're only interested in that part, of course. So it doesn't actually go into the printer over here. I'm doing a second simulation for that. Yeah, time shifting it a little bit and then transforming it to the side a little bit so it's sort of better in position. So that's that one. Then I have a second sim here. So it's inflation 2. And it's basically the same thing. It's just putting it over here, just pulling it in a different direction. And again, I'm just deleting everything, so I only keep sort of that part. So yeah, those are the simulations. And so in order to sort of make everything render properly as well, I had some extra stuff. So I added just a flat sort of grid in front of here for the hand. Because if I didn't do that, it's like it just looked a little bit weird over there, and it just looked better with sort of a flat hand like that. So because I needed, because you can see it's sort of, yeah, not really what we want. So instead of fixing it with the sculpt, I just did it like that. Oh, there's also a background, which I did in Photoshop, so I might as well show that. Right, so background, yeah, I mean, very simple. It's just from some image, and I just painted some extra stuff in it. So I painted away during bow, and this guy here is not visible. So this is going to be the background. So it's going to be on there. So the money printer itself has a little material, very simple material. I was thinking first of making it gold, but then I thought, making it gold would send the wrong message because else it would look like we still have a gold standard, which we don't. So that's why I didn't do that. So I made it. I tried making it super rusty, by the way, at some point, and it just didn't look that good. So it is a little bit rusty, actually. Let me see Is this the one? Oh, no, I didn't. I tried playing with some rust, but it didn't really look that good. So anyway, so now we're rendering the whole thing. So how I'm using all the materials, I go in here. So I'm actually using I'm using the texture, and I'm using it in an incandescent material. So this is a material that you would usually use for lights. But because I didn't want any shadows and stuff, it just made more sense to use it as sort of as an incandescent material. Because if you would do this as a regular material, you would get a whole bunch of shadows and stuff. And I just wanted it to look like the actual image. And I'm also splitting out the alpha because of course we need the alpha, because if we don't use the alpha, then we get all this because there's an extra piece of mesh still there. So we go in the printer. If I would have made a gold, there's a preset here for gold. If you want to see what it would look like. Oh, I don't think that's the one that I used, by the way. All right, so let's see which one I used. Let's go into printer, metal. Okay. Where are you, metal? Here you are. Okay, so I actually did end up making it more interesting. throw away these because I didn't use those. So I ended up using a Megascans texture. I cannot include this in the downloads because it's a paid asset, but you can download this from Megascans if you want. I used some Maxwell noises. So I think this is sort of a rusty type look. Yeah, okay, so I did make it look a little bit rusty. You can also see it, by the way, now that's sort of cleaning up. See, sort of a rusty printer because he's been using it so much. It's like all worn down and stuff. Yeah, so that's essentially the whole thing. So of course, then you have the thing there. The whole motion blur is enabled. Yeah, and then I just rendered it through some music on it. Yeah, and that's the whole thing basically. So again, yeah, you can download this file. All of the green nodes, by the way, are my render nodes. Generally work like that anyway. All right, so that was the entire thing. So I really hope you found it interesting. If you have never been watching CG content and this sort of inspired you to maybe try some 3D for yourself, because I assume maybe some people just from the finance community are watching this because they saw the meme and they came across the making of. I actually have a beginner course for learning Houdini. So just for absolute beginners, if you've never done 3D before, you can probably follow along. So it's on my channel. There's a playlist, so you can check out Houdini101.com. Or Houdini101.com on my website. So if you want to watch more stuff, there's also you can also watch that over there. Again, there's also a website live now called USDEP Go BRRR, which you can go to and see Jerome Powell print money to infinity with a nice clock over there. And there's also some merch for you can buy a t-shirt with BRRR on it and stuff like that. So if you want a t-shirt and want to help support the channel and stuff, you can buy a t-shirt. So yeah, that's USDEP.com. So yeah, that was the whole thing. So really hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to absolutely destroy the like button. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to stay notified with all of the videos that I'm uploading. And nowadays, I actually upload multiple times a week. So hope you find it interesting. And let me know what you think. Thanks, guys. Peace.